Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful lattice cable stitch using just a crochet hook and some yarn. This cable is also used in my Neve sweater scarf, so this video also serves as a tutorial for that cable in the sweater scarf. You will need the pattern still in order to complete the Neve sweater scarf, but this is one of the cables in that sweater scarf. All right, let's show you how to make this. For this cable, you're going to want a multiple of 10 plus 3 stitches. So for the foundation row, you can either work however many foundation stitches you want, or you can work that multiple of 10 plus 3 plus 2 additional chains, and then you will half double crochet in the back bump of the third chain from your hook and each chain across. To begin the cables, you want at least 2 rows for your foundation. I've done 4 because there are 4 rows prior to starting the cables in the Neve sweater scarf. This is the cable that is used in the center of the Neve sweater scarf. For this tutorial, I am going to tell you what the 10 stitch repeat is, but for the purpose of not giving out the pattern for free, I'm not going to tell you how many repeats to do for each size. You will have to reference the pattern for that portion. The first row of the cables for the Neve sweater scarf and for the purposes of this swatch is going to be row 5. If you only do 2 foundation rows to start, it will be row 3. Begin the first cabling row by chaining 2 and turning your work. This row begins with half double crochet 2. I should mention too that that multiple of 10 plus 3 gives you 2 stitches on either side. So if you want more stitches on either side, just increase your number of stitches by 2 for each stitch that you want on either side of these cables. Throughout this entire swatch, you are always going to be working your cable stitches into the stitch from 2 rows previous. But all the half double crochets that are worked in a cabling row are worked into the top of the last row you made, not into the 2 rows previous. Okay, now we're going to begin the cables. For any of the post stitches which are worked directly below where you're working, those are going to be front post triple crochets or treble crochets, and these are in US terms. And if you are cabling, if you're crossing over stitches, or you're moving the stitches 2 stitches to the left or 2 stitches to the right, those are going to be front post double treble crochets. So a treble crochet is where you yarn over twice, and a double treble is where you yarn over 3 times before beginning the stitch. So the first stitch of the cables begins a 10 stitch repeat, and it is a treble crochet into the stitch directly below. So here we've done 2 half double crochets, so we go into the next stitch, the third stitch from 2 rows previous. And complete the treble crochet. Then you're going to do the same in the next stitch. Treble crochet in the next stitch 2 rows previous, apologies. It's always 2 rows previous. Then you're going to half double crochet in the third stitch there. So you skip the 2 stitches in the back because those correspond to the 2 stitches you just made. And you half double crochet into this stitch and each of the next 4 stitches, so a total of 5 half double crochets after those 2 post stitches. Five half double crochets completed. Now you'll do 2 front post treble crochets again, making sure that you're working around the stitch that corresponds to it directly 2 rows below. So if it helps, you can count over from these post stitches, and you want to skip 5 of the half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to work around that 6th stitch with a treble crochet, 2 yarn overs. and repeat that for the next stitch. Then you're going to half double crochet into the next stitch, so skipping over those two because they correspond to those two cables you just made or two post stitches you just made, and half double crochet into the next stitch. Now those 10 stitches just created are your 10 stitch repeat. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2 post stitches, 5 half double crochet, 2 post stitches, 1 half double crochet. For my swatch, I only have 1 repeat. For the sweater scarf, reference the pattern for how many repeats to do for your size. So again, we're starting with those 2 front post treble crochets, making sure that we skip only 1 stitch from the 2 rows previous this time because we only worked 1 half double crochet. Again, this is showing you the 10 stitch repeat again. And we do our treble crochet into the second stitch. Now we have the 5 half double crochets. Make sure to skip those 2 stitches behind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 treble crochets in 2 rows previous, 1, 2. And then half double crochet into the next stitch. For my swatch, I don't need to do any more repeats, but you will have to for the Neve sweater scarf. Now I'll show you how to finish this row. This row is the easiest one because you essentially just make that repeat again. So you'll do a treble crochet around the stitch 2 rows previous, another treble crochet around the next stitch, skip those 2 stitches behind, half double crochet 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do 2 treble crochets 2 rows previous, and then half double crochet those 2 remaining stitches. And that is row 5 of the cable repeat. All even rows are the same, so I'm only going to show you this one time. Chain 2, turn, half double crochet across. That's the instruction for all even rows. When half double crocheting across, if you come across your post stitches, you're working into the tops of those post stitches. You are not going down below and working into the tops of those half double crochets from 2 rows previous, just into the tops of all of the stitches you just made in the previous row. And here I've completed the row of half double crochets. So to start the next cabling row, row 7, chain 2, and turn your work. I should note too, I'm a little unconventional in how I begin each of my rows. Many people will skip putting a stitch into this first stitch, but I find that that makes the edges really holy, so I don't do that. So if you see me putting a half double crochet into here, I'm doing that intentionally. So this row, just like the last, begins with a half double crochet 2, then for this row, you're going to front post treble crochet around each of those 2 front post stitches from the last row. Now this begins our 10 stitch repeat for this row. You are going to skip these 2 stitches behind, half double crochet into the next stitch, and the 4 stitches after it for a total of 5 half double crochets. Five half double crochets. Now begins our first cable crossover, and we're starting with the more difficult one, the one where we cross behind. So as I mentioned, anytime that there is a crossover or your post stitches shift to the left or the right, you are going to do a double treble. So we are going to yarn over 3 times for a double treble, and now in this row and every row that follows, our post stitches are always going to be worked around previous rows post stitches rather than around half double crochets. So we've got the 3 yarn overs, and we're going to skip these 3 stitches and do our post stitches around these 2. So we do our front post double treble around that first post stitch, and then double treble around that second post stitch. And here's where it gets a little bit tricky. You are going to look behind your stitches you just made, and you're going to skip 2 stitches and half double crochet into that 3rd stitch, just like you've done on rows previous, except this time it's kind of tucked behind the stitches that you just made. So skip those 2, 1, 2, and work into the 3rd stitch. Half double crochet. Whoops, dropped my yarn. Okay, now we're going to work into these 2 stitches, but we are going to do it behind these 2 stitches that we just made. And it is going to be a double treble again. So yarn over 3 times. For crossing behind cables, I hold my yarn overs on my hook so I don't lose them, and then slide my hook underneath those 2 stitches just made. And you'll always want to grab the first post stitch made. So grab that first post stitch only, and then I carry my hook back through underneath those stitches to complete my stitch. I'll show that one more time. So I have my 3 yarn overs on my hook. I'm going to slide my hook underneath those 2 stitches just made, and I'm going to pick up this post stitch right here, and I'm going to slide it back under those 2 stitches just made. Then you just complete your double treble as you would any other time. Complete your double treble. And you can see that stitch is now behind those 2 other stitches. And you repeat that for the second double treble stitch. So yarn over 3 times, slide the hook underneath, pick up that post stitch, bring it back out, and complete the double treble stitch. And you've just created a cable that crosses behind. And that completes the 10 stitch repeat for this row. For my swatch, I only have to do 1 more repeat, but for the Neve sweater scarf, you should reference the pattern for how many repeats you need to do for your size. So I'll show you that repeat one more time. You're going to skip the next 2 stitches and half double crochet into that 3rd stitch. These ones, I find that the skipped half double crochets kind of stand out, so do be careful to look for where that last half double crochet was actually made and count over. It's this stitch that I need to go into. So we half double crochet 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Front post double treble around these 2 stitches here. So we skip over 3 and work around those 2 stitches. Double treble around this stitch. Skip 2 stitches behind and half double crochet into that 3rd stitch. Crossing behind the 2 stitches you just made, double treble into those first 2 post stitches, or those 2 post stitches that you skipped over. And the second one. And that's another repeat completed. Now I'll show you how to end the row. Again, skip over 2 stitches, half double crochet into the 3rd, create a total of 5 half double crochets here. 3, 4, 5, and then you're going to front post treble crochet around those 2 stitches. Since they are just directly below, it is just a treble crochet, not a double treble. Ignore the fact that I'm crocheting my hair into this cable right now. And the dog hair that's all over here. Life. And then you finish the row by half double crocheting into those last 2 stitches. Skip over those 2. That hair is still in there. Half double crochet. And that's row 7 completed. Chain 2 and half double crochet row 8. Row 9 begins with chain 2 and turn. Now row 9 is a little different. These 2 cables then start to come together. So you're going to start with a half double crochet of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now begins the 10 stitch repeat for this row. Since you're shifting these 2 post stitches 2 stitches to the left, you are going to do a double treble. 3 yarn overs and go back around that first post stitch, double treble around the second post stitch, skip 2 stitches from the row previous, so I half double crocheted into that stitch, so I'll skip those 2, work into the 3rd. This time we're just working a single half double crochet in the middle of these cables, and then we're going to go and pick up these 2 cables that are pointed towards us. So you'll skip over 2 stitches and pick up those 2. Again, because these cables are shifting 2 stitches to the right, it is a double treble. Double treble around each of those 2 post stitches. Good. And then you skip 2 stitches from the row previous and half double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that is your 10 stitch repeat for this row. It looks a little different on the next repeat, so I'll show you how that's done. You are going to work your double treble stitches around these next 2 post stitches, these 2 post stitches that we kind of skipped over in that section of 5 half double crochets. So we've got our 3 yarn overs. We'll go and pick up that first post stitch and complete the double treble. And then the same around the second post stitch. Then we skip over 2 stitches from the row previous, half double crochet 1. Then we're going to work around these 2 post stitches over here. Because they're shifting, they're a double treble. Skip 2 stitches from behind and half double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. And that's another repeat completed. You finish the row in a similar fashion. You're going to double treble around each of those 2 post stitches from behind. Double treble. Skip 2 and half double crochet 1. Double treble into these 2 post stitches at the end here. And then you end your row how you began it, with half double crocheting 4, making sure that you skip over those 2 stitches. And that is row 9 completed. Row 10, you chain 2 and half double crochet across. Row 10 completed. To begin row 11, chain 2 and turn. Row 11 begins with half double crochet 4, now begins the 10 stitch repeat for this row, and we are going to be cabling, crossing over these 2 sets of post stitches. So you'll begin by creating a front post double treble around these 2 stitches. So you skip over 3 and work around those 2. Like so. You'll skip 2 stitches from the row previous, and again this one's a little bit tricky to find that half double crochet to work into, so make sure you're counting accurately. Half double crochet into the 3rd stitch skipped. Now this is the easier cable to complete. You're going to cross in front. You don't need to slide your hook underneath. You're just going to go over top of those stitches and pick up these post stitches here. So double treble, cross in front like this, cross in front. Again, I hold my yarn overs so that they don't slip around on me. Cross over and double treble around that first post stitch, and then double treble around that second post stitch in that group. Then you're going to skip over those 2 stitches from behind and half double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is one repeat completed. I'll show you the repeat one more time. You're going to front post double treble around these 2 stitches first. Half double crochet in the 3rd skip stitch from the row previous. And then double treble around these 2 stitches that you skipped. By crossing in front this time. The front is much easier. Skip over the 2 stitches and half double crochet each of the next 5 stitches. And that's another repeat completed. To finish this row, you finish it in a similar fashion. You are going to cable these 2 stitches across each other. So we're going to double treble around these 2. And the second one. Then you will half double crochet into the 3rd stitch skipped from the row previous. And then you will cross in front and double treble around these 2 skipped post stitches. You might be able to hear a little dog snoring very loudly in the background of this video, and I apologize for that, but he is 16 and I am not waking him up. Then you will skip over those 2 stitches and half double crochet into the remaining 4 stitches in this row. That is row 11 completed, row 12, chain 2, and half double crochet across. All right, there is the end of row 12. Row 13 begins with a chain 2 and turn. Just like the previous row, you begin by half double crocheting 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now begins the repeat for row 13. For this row, we're not shifting the cables or crossing them over. We are just working them straight up and down. So they are just a regular front post treble crochet. We yarn over 2 and front post treble crochet around those first 2 stitches that are crossed behind. Then you skip 2 in the back and half double crochet the next stitch. And then you front post treble crochet the next 2 stitches. Now you are going to skip over these 2 stitches and half double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that is the first repeat. I'll show you that one more time. You are going to treble crochet around these 2 post stitches that are crossed behind. Treble crochet around the second one. I only say treble crochet, but they are front post treble crochets. It's just a lot to say every time. Then you skip 2 stitches, half double crochet into the next, and then treble crochet those next 2. And you finish the repeat by skipping 2 and half double crocheting the next 5 stitches. To finish the row, it's worked similarly. You will front post treble crochet around these 2 stitches. Half double crochet into the 3rd stitch. Front post treble crochet the next 2 stitches. And then finish by half double crocheting the remaining 4 stitches. So you skip 2 and half double crochet the remaining 4 stitches. And that is row 13 completed. Row 14, chain 2, half double crochet across. To begin row 15, chain 2 and turn. Now row 15 is going to look very familiar because it's an exact replica of row 11. It is a repeat of row 11 where we are crossing over these cables, crossing them over. I'll show you it anyways, just in case. Half double crochet 4, this begins the 10 stitch repeat. You're going to front post double treble around this stitch. So you're skipping over 3 and front post double treble around that post stitch and the next. Skip 2 behind, half double crochet into the next stitch. And this one crosses in front, nice and easy. Double treble into each of those 2 post stitches that you skipped. Skip the next 2 stitches and half double crochet the next 5 stitches. And that's one row or one repeat completed. So you repeat that again, double treble, skip 3, work around these 2. Double treble the second stitch, skip 2, half double crochet 1 in the back, and then cross in front and double treble these 2 post stitches. I realize I'm going a little faster on this row because it is a repeat of row 11. And I trust that we're starting to get the hang of these cables. Also, you can click pause on this video at any point if I'm going too fast. Skip these 2 stitches and then half double crochet into the next 5. that's another repeat completed. Now we'll finish the row with a double treble around each of these 2 stitches. So we skip 3, cross over here. Skip 2 in the back, half double crochet that 3rd stitch. Crossing in front, we will cable these 2. So that's a double treble. Like so. Skip 2 in the back and then half double crochet each of the last 4 stitches. And that is a repeat of row 11 as row 15 completed. For row 16, chain 2, half double crochet across. That's row 16 completed. To begin row 17, chain 2 and turn. Row 17 begins with half double crochet 2, 1 and 2. Now begins the 10 stitch repeat for this row. We are going to be moving these cables away from each other in this row. So we've done our half double crochet 2. We're going to double treble around these 2 post stitches that are crossed behind in the previous cabling row. So grab the first one and double treble, and then the second one, double treble. You'll then skip 2 stitches from the row previous and half double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. 3, 4, 5. Now you're going to double treble back around these 2 stitches. 3 yarn overs, and you kind of cross back to shift those post stitches 2 stitches to the left. You'll skip 2 stitches from behind and half double crochet into the next stitch. And that concludes the 10 stitch repeat for row 17. I will show you it one more time. You're going to double treble, skip over these 2 stitches, and double treble into each of those 2 post stitches that are crossed behind in the previous cabling row. You'll skip 2 stitches and half double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. You're then going to do your front post double treble crochets around these 2 post stitches that you just skipped. So you cross back like that, cross back, boop. And again. You skip 2 stitches in behind and half double crochet into that 3rd stitch. And that's another repeat completed. Here is how you'll finish this row. You are going to double treble around these 2 stitches. Like so. Skip 2 stitches from the row previous and half double crochet into the 3rd stitch. And you'll half double crochet a total of 5 in between here. 3, 4, and 5. And then you'll go back and double treble each of these front post stitches here. You then skip 2 stitches and half double crochet into the last 2 stitches of the row. And another one of my hairs has made it in here. I even tied back my hair and everything to film this video. And that's row 17 completed. For row 18, chain 2 and half double crochet across. That is row 18 completed. To begin row 19, chain 2 and turn your work. Row 19 is also going to look familiar because it's actually a repeat of row 7 where we cross those cables behind. Begin by half double crocheting the first 2 stitches. You're then going to work these 2 stitches straight up, so they are a treble crochet, not a double treble. And this begins the repeat for this row. Skip 2 stitches, half double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. Then you're going to skip over 3 and you're going to front post double treble around each of these 2 stitches as you're bringing them over this way. You'll skip 2 stitches from the row previous and half double crochet into that 3rd stitch. And now this is the crossed under cable again, a little bit tricky. It is a double treble, so get those yarn overs on your hook. Slide your hook underneath those 2 stitches you just made and pick up that post stitch. Bring it through. And then work your stitch as normal. Again, you do your 3 yarn overs, you cross under those 2 stitches just made, scoop up that post stitch, and work your double treble as normal. And that is the 10 stitch repeat for this row. I'll show you it one more time. Skip 2 stitches, half double crochet each of the next 5. Then you're going to double treble into these 2 stitches over here. 1, 2, 3 yarn overs. Skip 3 stitches and double treble into those post stitches. Then you'll half double crochet into the 3rd stitch skipped and double treble by crossing behind or underneath these 2. So you're going between the half double crochets and the post stitches, scooping up that post stitch and completing that stitch as normal. And that's the second repeat completed. Now I'll show you how you finish this row. Skip 2 stitches, half double crochet into each of the next 5, and then front post treble crochet these, not double treble because they're just going straight up. And then you'll half double crochet the remaining 2 stitches. So you skip 2 and half double crochet those remaining 2 stitches. And that is row 19 completed. For row 20, chain 2 and half double crochet across. Now I'm going to show you what is technically a repeat of row 5, but technically not. So begin this row, row 21, by chaining 2 and turning. You are working it exactly the same as you did row 5, except now rather than working into half double crochets from 2 rows previous, you're just working into those post stitches again. So it doesn't really make a difference. It is technically a repeat of row 5. So when you're creating these cables, you either can repeat what you've done here. You can start with a repeat of row 5 and go row 5 through row 20. Or if you'd rather follow the instructions where you're working only into the post stitches, you'll be repeating rows 7 through 22 for the pattern. It is a 16 row repeat. So this repeat of row 5 or row 21, if you want it that way, begins by chaining 2 and turning. Then you're going to half double crochet 2. Now begins the 10 stitch repeat for this row. You are going to front post treble crochet around each of the first 2 post stitches. Skip the 2 stitches behind and half double crochet into each of the next 5. Front post triple crochet around the next 2 stitches. None of these cables in this row are shifting to the left or right or crossing over, so they are always just the triple crochet, not a double triple, not a double treble. I use those terms interchangeably. And skip 2 stitches, half double crochet, 1 behind. And that's the 10 stitch repeat for this row. I'll show it to you again because it's a little bit different the second time. You're now going to triple crochet into those 2 cables from behind. You'll skip 2 stitches and half double crochet into each of the next 5. And then triple crochet these next 2 stitches. Skip 2 stitches from the row previous and half double crochet into the 3rd stitch. And that's the second repeat completed. Now to finish this row, you are going to triple crochet into those 2 stitches that are crossed behind from the previous cabling row. Skip 2 stitches and half double crochet into each of the next 5. And then treble crochet, triple crochet those last 2 stitches, or those last 2 post stitches rather. Skip 2 and half double crochet the last 2 stitches in the row. Row 22, you'll just chain 2 and half double crochet across. And that completes the 16 row repeat for these beautiful lattice cable stitches. Again, you are not going to do 2 repeats of row 5, so you can either choose to repeat row 7 through 22 or row 5 through 20. I just showed that last repeat there because it works into the post stitches instead of half double crochets. You don't want to work that row twice in a row, or else it'll be an 18 row repeat. For the Neve sweater scarf, check your size to see how many times you repeat this lattice, or if you're just using this for your own project, repeat it until you get the length that you would like. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel for future educational crochet content.